Okay, what we're going to look at today in this lesson is algebraic operations, and in particular removing brackets from an expression that you're given, and these can be in all sorts of different formats. So the first thing that we're going to look at is a recap on removing single brackets from an expression. Okay, from there we'll move on to still doing that, removing single brackets, but then having to simplify the expression. And then we'll move on to actually being double brackets and the process of being able to remove those. And then we move on again, and it's still double brackets, but for the last one, it's double brackets with maybe with two terms in one bracket and three terms in the second bracket, and how we go about removing those brackets in that case. So example one there is got an expression with a single bracket, so a 3 on the outside and b plus 5 on the inside of that bracket. So when we multiply, when we remove a bracket, we want to multiply everything inside the bracket, so each term in turn inside the bracket by the term that's on the outside of the bracket. And by outside I mean directly outside. Okay, so think of it as sticking to that bracket. So in this case, we'll use our little rainbows. 3 times b is 3b, and 3 times plus 5 is plus 15. Notice I'm saying plus. It's good to get into that habit because it just tells you that the sign that you're putting down there. So if we look at example 2, we've got w minus 2 in the bracket, and on the outside we've got a 4. So 4 times w is 4w. But then 4 times minus 2 is minus 8. So that's going to be 4w minus 8. Example 3 is exactly the same, except this time instead of being a number outside the bracket, it's a letter. But it's exactly the same process. We're multiplying, or we're removing that bracket by multiplying everything inside the bracket by the term that's on the outside. Except in this case, we've got y times y. So y times y is y squared. And then y times minus 1 is minus y. Okay, so there should always be a sign separating these two terms, either a plus or a minus. In this case, it's a minus because we've got a positive value outside the bracket multiplied by a negative value inside the bracket. So that's always going to give us a negative. Positive times negative. Example 4, this time notice this is minus 7w. Now this whole term is sticking to this bracket, and this is the sign that it's got as well. It's a negative 7w. So we need to multiply that minus 7w by everything inside the bracket. So minus 7w multiplied by w is minus 7w squared. And then minus 7w multiplied by minus 3, the two negatives make a positive, so it becomes plus, and then it's 21w. So 7 3s are 21, and we've got our w there. For example 5, we've got an expression that's 7 plus 3 bracket 4 minus y. Now when we multiply this out, when we remove this bracket, we've got to be careful here because that 7 at the start has got nothing to do with this bracket. It's a separate term altogether. So it doesn't suddenly become 10 outside the bracket. You can't just add those two together. That's a really, really common error, and you should try and avoid that, that scenario. So the 7 gets set down, and then it's just this plus 3 that we're multiplying all the terms in the bracket by. So it's a positive 3 on the outside. So plus 3 times 4 is plus 12. And then positive 3 times minus y. So a plus times a minus is a minus. So it's minus 3y. And then we can tidy that up. 7 plus 12 is 19. So it's 19 minus 3y. Example 6, we've got 9 minus 3 times 8 minus y. Now, again, it's exact same to start. We've got this first term here. It's got nothing to do with this bracket, so we simply write that down. Our 9 goes first of all. And then, but just be careful because it's a minus at the outside of that bracket, minus 3 that we've got to multiply everything inside the bracket by. So minus 3 times 8 is minus 24. And minus 3 times minus y, so a negative times a negative is a positive. So it's going to be plus 3y. And then we can tidy that up. 9 minus 24 is minus 15 minus 3 plus 3y. So example 7, we can see this expression a little bit more involved again. We've got two brackets here, but they're separated, so we treat them separately. We multiply each bracket out and then gather our terms together. So that first bracket, we've got 4 on the outside and m minus 3. So when we multiply that out, it becomes 4m minus 12. And then the second bracket, it's a minus. There's no number there. When you don't see a number, the number is 1. Okay, so we're really multiplying everything in that bracket by minus 1. It's one of these terms that if it's a 1, we don't generally need to put it, we just know that it's there. So minus 1 times m is minus m, and minus 1 times minus 2. A minus times a positive is a negative, so it becomes minus 2. And then we can tidy that up. 4m minus m is 3m, and minus 12 minus 2 is minus 14. Okay, example 8, same sort of thing, 7 on the outside of the first bracket, so it becomes 7y minus 7. On the second bracket, we've got minus 2 that we need to multiply all of the terms in that bracket by, so we get minus 2y minus 8. And then we can tidy that up. 7y minus 2y is 5y, and then minus 7 minus 8 is minus 15. Okay, so that's quite a good place to stop and have a go at some of these for yourself. So there's some examples to try here. We've got the textbook examples on page 13 on exercise 1.1, and our Pegasus workbook section 2.1. So that should be on page 21. Questions 1 to 3 have lots of different examples there as well. So have a go at those and see how you get on. We're now going to have a look at how we remove double brackets from an expression. What we mean by double bracket is an algebraic expression that's got two brackets involved and they're side by side. There's no sign between the brackets that we were looking at previously, where we multiply each bracket out in turn. These two brackets are stuck together, and that's why we call them double brackets. Now the way that we remove the brackets is the process is that we must multiply every term in each bracket by each other. So it's how we go about doing that, and there's various different ways, and the way that I'm going to show you here is by splitting the first bracket into two separate terms and multiplying that by the second bracket. And what I mean is we take each term in the first bracket and set it out with the second bracket. So the first term in that first bracket is 2x, and we're going to multiply that by the second bracket by x plus 3. The second term in that first bracket is minus 1, and then we're going to multiply that by the x plus 3. Okay, so 2x all times x plus 3 minus 1 times x plus 3. Okay, so hopefully you can see how we split that first bracket and then multiplying. And it's just a way of making sure that we multiply and get every term. And what we should end up with is 4 terms when we multiply out. So it now just becomes what we looked at before. We've got 2 separate brackets that we can multiply out. So 2x times the first bracket becomes 2x squared plus 6x. 2x times x is 2x squared. 2x times plus 3 is plus 6x. And then minus 1 times the second bracket. Minus 1 times x is minus x. Minus 1 times plus 3 is minus 3. And then what we can do is tidy this up. In other words, gather our like terms. Now there isn't another x squared term, and you shouldn't find another x squared term. So the first and the last term, when you do this, should just stay as they are. It's the two middle terms that can be added together. So 2x squared, and then we've got 6x minus x is 5x. And then we've got minus 3 at the end. So the 2x squared and the minus 3 are still there, but we can gather our 6x and our minus x to be plus 5x. And that's us, that's it, multiplied out our double brackets. So example 2, we have x plus 1 all squared. And we're going to remove the brackets from this. Now, probably the best way to think about this, if you square something, you're multiplying it by itself. So rewrite this as it multiples, so it's x plus 1 times x plus 1. So we can write that as x plus 1, x plus 1. So a double bracket, essentially. Okay, we don't need to put a multiplication sign between those two brackets. We know that it's multiplying. When we see two terms together, they are multiplying. And then we can just follow the same process. So split the first bracket and multiply by the second. So it becomes x times x plus 1 times x plus 1. And then we'll just multiply that out. So we get x times x is x squared, plus x times 1 is x, plus 1 times x is x, plus 1 times 1 is plus 1. And then we can see again, it's just these two terms in the middle. The x plus x is 2x. So it becomes x squared plus 2x plus 1. Okay, example 3 is a problem solving question with algebra saying find the area of the rectangle, and we're given the size of a rectangle as algebraic expressions. So the length is 2x minus 3y and the breadth is x minus 2y. Now if we see something like this, find the area of a rectangle, the first thing we should be thinking about is, well, how would I normally find the area of a rectangle? The formula for the area of a rectangle is length times breadth. So that's what I do. It doesn't matter the fact that it's not numbers, it's not 5 times 4, it's algebra. We can still apply that same process. So area is length times breadth. It doesn't matter which way around you do this as well. So I've just, as I've seen it there, so the x minus 2y in brackets multiplied by 2x minus 3y. And then it's a case of multiplying, removing those brackets from this, so we can split the first bracket and multiply everything by the second bracket. So that becomes x times 2x minus 3y minus 2y times 2x minus 3y. So we split the first bracket and multiply each term in the first bracket by the second bracket. Okay, and then we just go about removing those two brackets as normal. So it's going to be x times 2x is 2x squared, minus x times 3y is minus 3xy. And then we've got minus 2y times the second bracket is minus 2y times 2x is 4xy. And minus times a minus here is going to be plus 6y squared. Okay, when I have these sort of 3xy, 4xy, you know, it could be yx or xy. Generally, what you would normally see is that it goes in alphabetical order. It just looks a bit better. We can then tidy that up. So the first and last terms we can't do anything with, but minus 3xy minus 4xy becomes minus 7xy. And then we've got our plus 6y squared on the end. And that's it. That's our expression for our area of a rectangle. Okay, so again, your turn to try some examples here. So for our double brackets, in the textbook in chapter 5, we've got two exercises, 1.2 and 1.3 on page 14 and 15. So questions 1 to 5 there, and our Pegasus workbook, section 2.1, page 21 to 22, questions 4 to 8. So again, lots and lots of examples to try. See how you go on with that. Okay, so example 4 is coming under the heading harder double brackets. Now, it isn't harder. It's a little bit more involved, but the process is exactly the same. Okay, so we do end up with some more terms. We've got to be a bit more careful in terms of our multiplying out, but the process of removing those brackets is exactly the same. We split our first bracket and we multiply each term in that first bracket by the second bracket. Okay, so the splitting the first bracket, we get x multiplied by all of that second bracket, and then plus 4 multiplied by all of that second bracket, and you can see that there, x bracket, x squared plus 3x plus 2, so that's whole second bracket still sitting there, and then the plus 4 from the first bracket multiplied by all of that second bracket. Okay, and then we just go about multiplying out. Now we're going to end up with more terms. Going to end up 6 terms rather than the 4 that we've been seeing from our previous examples of double brackets. But that's fine. We just have to be a bit careful in terms of getting our like terms together at the end. But follow that process of the term outside the bracket, so our x multiplied by each term inside the bracket. So that becomes, for that first one, x cubed plus 3x squared plus 2x. Okay, so 3 terms at a time, and then we go into our second bracket, our plus 4 multiplied by all of that bracket. So it's going to be plus 4x squared plus 12x plus 8. Okay, we can see those 3 terms, second 3 terms there. And then we've got to think about any like terms. So what you'll find is the first and the last term shouldn't change. Okay, our x cubed term, there's not another x cubed term that we can add or subtract from that. And there's not another whole number term that we can add or subtract. So they're going to stay the same. What does gather is the x squared term. So we've got a plus 3x squared and we've got a plus 4x squared, which becomes plus 7x squared. And we've got the plus 2x plus 12x. Okay, so our x cubed comes down, it stays as it is. Plus 3x squared plus 4x squared is plus 7x squared. And then we've got plus 2x plus 12x, which is plus 14x, and then our plus 8. And that's us for example 4. We can't do anything more with that. We should end up with those 4 terms there. A cubed term, a squared term, an x term, and a number. Okay. Is going to be the same sort of thing. We've just got to be careful with our negatives and positives in this one, but same process. Split that first bracket, multiply each term in that first bracket by all of the second bracket, and that just makes sure that all the terms in both brackets all multiply by one another. Okay, so it becomes 2x times the first bracket, and then it's minus 1 times the second bracket. So when we multiply that out, our first 3 terms all multiplied by 2x, so it becomes 2x cubed plus 4x squared minus 2x. And then our minus 1 multiplied by that bracket is going to be minus x squared minus 2x, and then minus 1 times minus 1 is going to be plus 1. So take care because it's every single term is going to be multiplied by our negative on the outside of the bracket. And then we can gather our terms together. So as I said before, the first term, there's no other cubed term, so that's just going to stay as 2x cubed. 4x squared minus x squared becomes plus 3x squared. And then minus 2x minus another 2x is going to be minus 4x. Take care with those negatives and positives, and then we've got our plus 1 on the end, and that's us with our brackets. We've got our 4 terms, we've multiplied them all out. So example 6, the last example I'm going to look at is what's called cubing brackets. Now where we saw with the squaring, we rewrote it and we're going to do exactly the same thing here. X plus 4 cubed means we're multiplying this x plus 4 by itself 3 times. So write it out that way. First of all, x plus 4 times x plus 4 times x plus 4 with the brackets. Then the way to go about this is we can't do this all at once. We need to do this in steps. So the x plus 4 times x plus 4, leave the first one, just it makes more sense to do these second 2, and even just do it aside to save the amount of working. So if we take our x plus 4 times x plus 4 and we multiply that out as normal, so split the first bracket, multiply by the second bracket, becomes x times x plus 4 times x plus 4. Multiply those out, x squared plus 4x plus 4x plus 16. We get x squared plus 8x plus 16. Okay, so we've done that little bit at the side, and then we can put all of this expression that comes to in place of our x plus 4 times x plus 4. So what we get is this expression here comes down and replaces that. And now we've got a double bracket, and we've just seen how we go about removing the double bracket. We've got 3 terms in the second bracket. So again, we're going to split that first bracket and multiply by the second bracket. So we get x times x squared plus 8x plus 16 plus 4 times x squared plus 8x plus 16. And we multiply all those out, the first three terms by x, so x cubed plus 8x squared plus 16x, and then our plus 4 times x squared is plus 4x squared plus 32x plus 64. And we're going to then gather those terms together. So the x cubed term stays as it is. 8x squared plus 4x squared is 12x squared. And 16x plus 32x is plus 48x, and then we've still got our plus 64 on the end. Okay, so again, some more examples for you to try for those on chapter 5, page 16 to 17 on exercise 1.2, 1.3, and the Pegasus workbook, page 23 and 24, questions 10 to 13, having a look at some of those types of questions.